Hey everyone, thank you for joining us on this episode of Government Coins. We are excited to have Marcellus Fox Wade from Black Fox. So why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Tell us about your business. Tell us about how you got into government contracting, please.
Yes. All right. So once again, people call me Fox. You better call me Fox. Government name is Marcellus Wade. I've been in government contracting since 2014. Started right here in the Atlanta, Georgia. Created a company called Wade Realty and Contracting, WRC. Honestly, it was for failure, success. And that success led to me selling that company in 15 months for a very nice chunk of change, which I was able to retire for the second time because I'm retired military. Retired for the second time, got bored, and decided to get into this IT space because a friend of mine said, you know what, you need to get into the IT space with that big brand of yours. You could do some work here. So sat on it for about a year and a half, and then decided that, you know what, I'm going to use my military call sign, Black Fox, to start a new company called Black Fox.
Wow.
And we're going to focus on information technology, cybersecurity, business continuity, and also some disaster recovery. It was more like a niche thing to where I saw companies were struggling to have this type of operational resilience. And so now we're in it, and we've been running full speed.
Wow. So you work with both government and like private companies.
You're right. Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty dope.
Awesome. That's awesome. And where do you feel like, I've known Marcellus for a little while. We travel. I think the first time I met Marcellus was in another country. Physically,
Yeah.
right? We had known each other virtually, of course, pandemic world. But I think what's important for a lot of people to know is what is your perspective when it comes down to partnerships? Because you have definitely been a great influence in my government contracting journey and our relationship as like friends, business partners. So what is it that you feel about partnership? What's the advantage of it?
So to go historically, right, I thought that I could do this by myself. And a lot of people don't know this, but you will know is that my first construction project was a failure because I tried to do it by myself. It was a failure. It was like I lost like $5,000 off of it. It was small, but at the same time, it was a failure.
Right.
So then, as I consulted with my mentor, he said, you know what, you need a team, right? You need a team. And then he put into perspective, champions have teams, right?
Of course.
Even a golfer has an excellent caddy.
Yes.
Even somebody who plays tennis has somebody there that can make sure they got the necessary water and whatever, give them that insight. So, being in Special Operations Forces, it dawned back on me that, you can't accomplish a mission without a team. So teaming, partnering has always been my motto because that's how you're going to expand in this world of government contracting.
Absolutely. And then in terms of teaming, have you partnered or done business as a subcontractor with different primes?
Oh, most definitely. 85% of our work is subcontracting because the company was started in 2018. We've only been in business 3 years. Yeah, I may have a lot of experience in another industry, but when you're in the IT industry, you're battling against some multi-billion-dollar, multi-million-dollar firms that are gobbling up everything. So
Everything.
I've always had a competitive spirit in sports, but in this industry of business, I don't even like the word competition. All you have to do is say, okay, cool. I know I can do the work, but it's too big for me. Who do I need to call?
Right.
So instead of saying competing against somebody, just partner with them, but also use them as I like to call it a unconscious mentor. Meaning that you're learning from them. They don't know that they're mentoring you, but you're learning from them. So that way, when the tables are turned, as you get bigger, as you evolve, you can become that prime and they can be your sub.
Absolutely. Now, how did you go about finding the work with the prime? That's one conversation that, a lot of people have a question about. How do I find subcontracting opportunities?
Yeah.
How do I do that? Let's talk about that for a second.
I'm going to have to let my secret out.
Tell the people.
Tell the
I
people what they need
think
to
I've
hear.
let this out on
You heard
IG.
it here first on
Right.
Government Coins.
This is how you find
That's how
your
they do it on
prime.
the radio, right?
I've let this out on IG probably the last 90 days, but I'm gonna tell y'all this, right? So, for me, let's say what prime is, right? A prime contractor is the primary contractor, meaning that whoever that customer is, whatever agency, they're going to consult with that primary contract holder.
Right.
A subcontractor is a subordinate underneath the prime contractor, right? Even though both are important to the mission of that program manager or that customer, but there's only going to be one person that's going to truly interface with that customer. That's the prime. So for me, I wanted to find firms that were bigger than me who's been doing it, but we have somewhat of the same story. Me being a military veteran, Purple Heart, deploying, and all this other stuff, right? So I did some research on Google, and I found that contract vehicles was the way what the government was going, right? You know, sole source work and all that stuff is great, but they were really going towards contract vehicles. So I found the VETS 2 contract vehicle, which is underneath GSA,
that GWAC.
yeah. VETS 2 is a government-wide acquisitions contract, meaning that the government has said that we have a ceiling of $5 billion we want to spend, but out of that $5 billion, we only have a small pool of vetted, qualified, certified contractors that can perform whatever tasks come down. So I found the list, this is all public information, right, of all the VETS 2 contract holders, and I forgot what the acronym VETS stand for. But I found each one, and I drafted a compelling email script, right, to where I can copy it, paste it, and put it in there. But I'm gonna tell y'all the secret, right? I will never ever do a mass email, ever.
No.
So what I do is that I take whatever compelling thing I do, talk about the company, three things. Talk about the company, talk about our past performance, and talk about how we're going to get in contact with you to do a face-to-face or a face-to-face virtual conference, right?
Right.
It's like a call to action button right there.
Let's tell them again. What are those three things?
Number one, you want to tell them about your company. You want to tell them about what you've done and how you've helped other organizations. And you want to do a call to action to set up a face-to-face meeting. And quick.
That's three things.
Don't say a month from now or 3 weeks. Say within the next 10 days, how can I get on your calendar to do a 15-minute virtual meeting or a face-to-face meeting. Face-to-face for me is always best.
Yeah, always, yeah.
Now, part of that, so the list that you extract, which is public information, is going to have the company's name, their contract number, and the most important part, the point of contact of that company, their email address and phone number, right? So with that, I always send that, but I make sure that whoever name is on there, it says Dear John or Good morning, John, good afternoon. I want to make it a little bit more intimate so that way John knows that I'm talking to him. Now, that email script is going to be copy and paste.
Right.
But in the beginning, I'm going to say, you know, hey, dear, what's the name, or how you doing, blah, blah, blah. And I always put in the subject line, VETS 2, you know, partnership or something like that, right? Now, the catcher, here's the hook to it all. I always include our company's capability statement because that gives them a brief, okay, who am I talking to? Oh, here's the company right here. But the catcher is, and this is how we've been able to procure so many different subcontracts, I attach my own personal bio to there.
Yeah.
Now my bio highlights everything, military career, all my highlights, all that great stuff in there. But I put a picture on it, so now that email you open up, you're like, oh, this is a handsome guy.
My
Lord have mercy.
This is a good looking guy right here. Wow, hey a minute. He's ex-military. He's Purple Heart, Bronze Star. He's this. He's
we gonna
Goldman
cut this part
Sachs.
out.
Oh my man.
I'm telling you, listen, it works because guess what happens in the conversation?
Oh, I didn't know you were part of it.
When you have that one-on-one meeting and you talk, like I had one today, no joke. Before we got started, I said, hey, how y'all doing, whatever we on thing. And they're like, oh, I see you was in the 82nd. And for 10 minutes straight, we talked about the background. And then the guy said, you know what, I like it. We're going after Department of Homeland Security work. We're doing this, whatever. I'm going to add you to to our thing, and next thing you know, I get a ping saying, oh, here's the list of what's coming out, blah blah blah. So because we're all people,
Yeah.
and it's all emotional. So you want to make sure that you have
connections to real men.
So this is the building relationship thing that
Right.
we're talking about. Again, remember, it's going to be trending. You have to build those relationships. He said it again. We are all people. Being able to connect with somebody and just have like a genuine conversation, just about the work that you're doing, something you did previously, any of that stuff. Like, we all have things that we can relate to one another with. So dang, that's a good point. I really like it.
It's like dating, right?
Y'all need men need
it's
relationships.
It's always going
It's
to
100%.
relationships in these
The
episodes.
men love these relationships.
They're like
y'all.
romance, the government. I just want y'all to know y'all cannot romance, but you have to treat it with love. Yes,
But no joke,
and
like,
care.
you have to find you 1 or 2 agencies, and you got to say, I want to learn more about this agency.
Yeah.
What are they doing? Where they like to hang out at?
Yeah.
Well, let me find them on LinkedIn. Let me follow on Facebook. Oh, this person, I was, matter of fact, the person I was off the phone with, him and I connected. He got us work at the Maryland Transportation Authority because I said this. I said, oh, I see you like horses. The whole hour we talked about, I don't know anything about horses, but the whole hour we talked about horses on the phone. But guess what I'm doing on my iPad?
Looking stuff up.
Right.
I'm on my iPad looking up
You
horses.
already know what type of
And
horse he like.
I'm throwing out keyword. I'm like, keyword, okay. Yeah, so stallion is, blah, blah, blah. Oh, yeah. We out there in Western Maryland, and we got a farm out there. And I was like, well, can I come? Yeah. He invited, me and my family out there. Whatever.
That's key. I think it's big. Like, you got to make the connections with the people because they are people. I think we have this misconception that the government is like, once you tell somebody, do you want to sell to the government? They're like, what? But in actuality, the government is just people that are in positions of power, right? And from a purchasing standpoint, they're in a position to evaluate a proposal that you submitted, evaluate your costs, whatever, to make a decision as to whether you are deemed as like the best fit.
Absolutely.
I think the big question I have for you, and because we have
Before we get to the next question, I wanted to piggyback off of the...
Yeah, go ahead.
So I like the story that you presented about like going after and finding these primes for different subcontracting opportunities. In terms of like, how has the relationship been in terms of maintaining that relationship with the primes after the work is done? Because that's a lot of times we don't think about that. We just think about contracts. Like,
so that's my golden rule. That's my golden nugget is CRM.
Yeah.
Customer Relationship Management. I have a contract right now at DOD, Department of the Air Force. I go there every Tuesday and Thursday. I don't have to go there, but I go there and I hang out with XX and I'm talking to them and I'm learning about this person is ex-Navy, he's a Marine Corps. Next thing you know, we're having a battle about which branch is better.
oh, that's my favorite.
And then, they're like, hey, we're thinking about doing this. What do you think? Can you support this? And it's like, yeah, we can do that. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I can get you a data science engineer. I don't know.
You don't know, but you're going to find it.
Exactly, right? But that customer relationship management is key. I have a list in my phone, my favorites list of all people in the government that I associate with, and I will text them and say, hey, I'm just checking on you. How you doing?
That's
How's
right.
everything going on? I just take a moment out of a day for 30 minutes, and it can be a cop. I'm not going to say that because they
That's
may be
not
watching
on
this.
here.
Yeah. Not today.
But you just, you have to do it, and people really appreciate that. Hey, thank you for checking on me, blah, blah. But it's sincere. I'm not doing it because I'm like, I need some work, I need a contract.
Right.
It's like sincere because number one, we're all people. Matter of fact, I learned that somebody at one of our corporate contracts, their son was murdered.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, sorry to hear that. What's your address? I sent flowers, blah, blah, blah. They have a foundation. I was like, what do you need? She was like, we got this foundation called a shoe something, whatever. I was like, I don't care what you need. She was like, I need $5,000. I was like, bet. Nope, not a problem. Whatever, what you need. You need $5,000 for this? And it's appreciative because guess what she did 2 months ago?
Wow.
Hey, we got this training coming up. I know that you've already done this over here in this office. Can you do this training for us in November. Yep, sure can.
So before to disclaimer, right? Because I'm just
Please.
that don't do that,
Nah.
right? And to an extent,
Yeah.
right?
Don't do what? Which one?
The
So,
$5,000.
No. So if you can, it was a donation to the foundation.
For the okay.
Yeah, for the foundation, not to the person.
So what Marcellus is describing is building a genuine relationship with a personnel, right? And the other aspect of it is he's also talking about corporate.
Yes.
You do not want to come in to the government space and think that giving a gift of any sort will result in a contract being awarded to your company. That is not how it works. However, as you obviously work in this government space and these specific government personnels will check with their ethics department, then you'll see what type of friendship or relationship you guys can have. But definitely that is more on the corporate side. I've sent flowers to a private company before. I've gone to their specific personnel's funeral, friend's wedding, whatever, because that's corporate, right? So just keep that stuff in mind. So one big thing that I had, and I really want you to touch on, a lot of us here are essentially consultants, and we consult small businesses, new businesses that want to venture into government contracting. What are some of the myths or some of the things that you hear that are kind of like your red flags, or the things that you're like, don't sign up with this consulting company?
The middleman strategy.
Yeah, you had to go there.
Just right on in. Let's go.
When I hear middleman, right, it's not really sustainable.
Yeah.
Right? If someone is helping you to procure work or, guiding you through a process, that's different because they're more like a consultant to help you out. But if a middle person is trying to get like a percentage of the work and, having you do the work, but then they're saying, you don't want to get caught up in that because that can come back on you. And I've seen it 100 times to people I know, people I don't know, to where they try to middleman. Because the government has a budget, and that budget is to make sure that small businesses are doing business, because a small business is awarded a contract. Mm-hmm. That company is that company employs people.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And when that company employs people, people make money, people spend money, people do whatever, exactly. Then the money is recycled back and forth, right? So that's why the government they do it. It's called private partnership, to where you're able to do that. But if you're a middleman or trying to be a hustle man, then you're not building a business. Now, if you got a business model and you're like, cool, I can do 50% or whatever the regulatory is for that federal, state, local government agency. Yeah, you do that. Make sure you got like your project management people in place, whatever, to make sure everything's good. Mm-hmm. And you can bring on a subcontractor that can do those specialties, whatever. But now you're building a sustainable business that can build over time. And now you can hire people, you can pass it down to your family. That business now is an asset. Mm-hmm. You can do so much with it. But that middleman, hustle man thing, whatever, I don't like it because I hear a lot of people. I listen a lot. Mm-hmm. I may talk a lot sometimes, but I listen more than I talk, because when I hear things, I just go, no.
Right.
You don't want to do that. No, don't do that, because what happens is that a middle man, a middle woman, if they do not sustain a good relationship with a government customer, they can ruin it for everybody.
True.
Especially for people with our skin color.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, and I'm just being real. So you want to make sure that you procure a contract, you do your damn greatest job.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you do a profit share with bringing other people in, so that way they can make money too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you build off of that. So I stay away from that. People call me all the time talking about some. Can you teach me them? I had a person call me one day. It was like I said, I'm nice, so I'll take a phone call in a minute and say, all right, you got 5 minutes. What's your goal here? well, you know what? I know somebody who can do trucking, and I know somebody who can do construction,
No.
and I know somebody who can do cleaning. And I was like, okay, but what do you do?
Yes.
Well, I'm not trying to do anything. I'm just trying to win the contract and make sure they get it. I was like, listen, I do not promote that at all.
At all.
In my community, I want to see people building businesses.
Right.
Now, if you said I do construction, but I'm trying to do some work in facilities management because that's a little bit part of construction, and I want to partner with somebody else because they can do it, then I can project manage it, then now I know you're serious. But if you just like, I don't want to do anything, I just want to win the work and just give it away and get my percentage, then that's not building a business.
And that's another misconception too. Like, I just want to win a contract. It takes time, and you got to know how to go after these opportunities.
Contract in like a day.
No. I mean, I just got registered in Sam yesterday. Why I don't have a contract yet?
That's actually probably the one thing that takes me overboard. So listen. Okay, because this is where I'm about to take my airing off for y'all. This is the real tea, real talk. Seriously. Pretty much, here's the thing with the middleman method. Anybody who does it, that's on you. That's your prerogative. I personally cannot do it because my business requires complex services. So when it comes down to technicality, there are certain percentages of work that my business has to field and complete, and thus I can't do it. The other big thing is, if you just signed up on sam.gov yesterday and you're still trying to figure out what your cage code is, then you're not ready.
Sam code. That's what they call it. Sam code.
Yeah, they call us and they say Sam code, but it's a cage code. And you're not necessarily ready to begin, like you're not there yet, right? Like tomorrow is not going to come a contract. And you have to be okay. I say this all the time with losing. You have to understand, okay, I lost. Now what's next? What's my next move? How do I get that feedback and pivot, readjust? That is what it is about, not just in government contracting, but in business altogether. It's your ability to adapt, pivot, and then just grow from there. Absolutely. You cannot continue to think that the contracts are just going to fall from the sky because you have registered on sam.gov. If that was the case, you know how many millions of companies are registered on? We will all be millionaires. There wouldn't be an issue. So no, it doesn't work like that. What is some of your pet peeves that you notice with your clients?
That's usually it. The unawareness of like what it takes to be in the space or just the industry in general. Or I want to do, this, that, and the third. And I'm like, okay, pick one thing. What are you good at? Also, what did you do previously? What can you do? What can you provide? Like a lot of times, people just say, I don't know what I want to sell to the government, but I know I want to sell. Come back to me when you figure it out. But no, I think that's a really good point that you make when it comes down to that middleman method. Like that, it's too close to a get rich quick scheme for me. So I do always tell people, look, I can't help you with that. Maybe somebody else can. Right. That's not where I focus on. Maybe they know something that I don't. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of try to give that feedback and that direction wherever you want to go, and then you figure that out and you move that way. But I think that was a really good point that both of you made. One, you can't have a sustainable business. I love that because we're creating businesses to build and create some generational wealth, or at least that's the idea of why we go into business for ourselves anyhow. So it's not sustainable, and I think that's the biggest one for me, that is not sustainable.
The question I have for you, I think when we look on Instagram and we constantly hear from professionals, tax professionals, business professionals, it's all about like tax write-off. And I want to, I'm calling out all the things I've talked about with Marcellus, but it's like, oh, well, I want to pay the least in taxes, or, how can I pretty much be in the negatives when it comes down to, filing my taxes? But I want you to share your advice that you shared with like me and my husband and why it's important to pay your taxes, especially with federal government.
So 95% of people who start a business really don't have a plan, right? right? It is like, I want to start a business and I want to make money, right? Already going to fail because you just want to make money, right? Instead of solving problems. But the one key thing that everybody leave out is, what is your exit strategy, right? What is your exit strategy? For example, when I sold my first company, I really didn't know. All I know is that they offered me and said, we want to buy your company. I mean, they lowballed me like crazy.
Of course.
But, they said that, and I said, and I was like, oh my God, like, I've never in my life had that much money before. I don't think I've ever seen that much money.
Yep.
And then I started asking people questions. They said, don't you dare sell your company for that. They're lowballing you, negotiate it. And then when I did it, I was like, wow, I literally just created something and sold it. Basically, I took something, flipped it, and made a profit off of something, right? So what you want to do in your business is that you want to make sure that when you create the foundation of your business, now there's nothing wrong with paying taxes, not paying taxes, but you got to make sure that as you build the foundation of your business, kind of like your I call it your spiritual house, all right? You want to make sure that you put the best quality in it, so that way when the best buyer comes around, they're going to make you an offer that you can't refuse. So this is why it's so important to pay taxes. I'm not saying you got to pay crazy amounts of taxes, but this is why it's okay to pay some taxes, to take some money, to take some of that profit that you made and donate it, help out in the community. We did a event here in Dakar, Senegal in June where we ended up a pretty penny, for people to really enjoy themselves. But it's all about reinvesting, so that way when that buyer comes around and they look at your books, your accounting, they're like, oh, you got profit here, contracts here. Now they say, we'll give you $25 million for this company, right? You can go back and forth and say, no, you're going to pay me $32 million in cash for this company, because your accounting practices and the foundation of your business is solid.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, some of you get into government contracting with the idea that, oh, I'm going to make this money. But in actuality, one person that we met through Clubhouse, like, he is, a really great guy, and his father passed on the company to him. And because his father had built these relationships in the 90s and the 80s, his company was already a multi-million-dollar company. So we have to think, like, his father wasn't necessarily thinking about an exit strategy. He was like, hey, I got this company, my son's here, pass it on. That's generational wealth that his son doesn't necessarily have to essentially work the day-to-day operations in the company, but he can pass it on, or if he wants, he can sell it for, millions. So we have to think, when we're building this government contracting business, whatever problem we're solving, we're thinking for long term. We're not thinking for today. We're thinking for, how will this last for decades and decades?
Make money, because that business is an asset.
Yeah.
And what's so funny? You ever heard of TJ Millionaire Mentor?
I feel like I have.
You've probably seen him on IG. Well, he has a company. His company does about $50 million a year. He is detached from the day-to-day operations. He is retired, but him and his partner, they still draw a salary from that company. Even though they're retired from the company, they still draw a salary, which is their retirement. Right?
Yep.
And honestly, that's my overall goal, is to build it, and get to a point where I'll be like, oh, y'all really don't need me anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to retire as a president. I got a CEO. I'm still making my salary, which is my retirement for me. And then if someone comes around and buys, that's even better.
Dang, that's a really good point. I think that exit strategy, initially I wanted to focus more on having a company that can be sold, and today I still want to sell the company. So keep that in mind. Like, definitely figure out, where do you begin with the end in mind, and figure out where you want to be 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line. Just start thinking about what life looks like for you. And this will be like our final question in wrapping up. And it's pertaining to certifications. So we have a lot of people who say, certifications are required and like stuff like that, and which we know certifications are required. So let's talk about, is your business certified, and what benefits have you received from being a certified business if you are certified?
So our company is a Small Business Administration 8A certified company. We are a Department of Veterans Affairs serviceable veteran-owned small business. We are a state of Maryland, Virginia, and Georgia minority business enterprise. We are disabled business enterprises with quasi-government agencies like the Washington Metropolitan Area Transit Authority and the Metropolitan Washington Airport Authority as well, and other different agencies as well. There are even corporate private organizations that are out there that have their own as well. We've done it. My take on it is it depends on what you're selling to the government. It depends on what you're selling. So, if you're selling a product, something that's tangible in the hand, then do you really need certifications? No, because government don't care. As long as you got the right price and you can deliver, they don't care about that, right? If you're doing construction work, it just all depends on what level that you're on, because there are some states, I know the state of Maryland has regulatory laws that will say that certain contracts have to have like certain percentage to go to a certified minority business enterprise, a veteran service business enterprise. They have these, right? The federal level, they have certain goals that they must meet, that they have to meet to say this certain percentage has to go to an 8A company, a woman-owned small business, but you have to be certified. Yeah. My take on certifications is that it's like having a gun, right? Your business is the gun, and a certification could be the bullets, could be the cleaning components, but you need it to be able to function. Now, does it mean that you're going to win work? No, not at all. But my whole thing is that it's a tool. It's an additional tool. It's an additional resource that can help you get pushed in front of another firm that's probably in competition with you. Absolutely. It's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Ooh, I love that. True. It's better to have and not need than to need and not have. A lot of like the conversation around contract or certifications, yes, they are not required, but the new thing that we'll be saying is it's better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. I like that. I really like that.
So finally, to close out, how can people connect with you? I know September is the month of Marcellus is giving away a lot of free knowledge.
Basic courses
of free knowledge. Please don't call this man with a full RFP asking him to break down every single page. That's not going to happen. But how can people connect with you? Go ahead and share.
You can follow me on IG at Fox_Wade. Hit me up, send me a DM. Or if you click on my link tree, there's some free resources there that you can check out. Also, you can follow me on LinkedIn, Marcellus Wade. You can see more information about me. We're closing out RFP season, so I probably won't be available until end of September. But typically, if you reach out to me in my DM, and if you want to set up a 5-minute conversation, I'm all for it. If I give you my phone number, please don't text me because I'm not going to read it. But if you give me a call, I will return a phone call, and I will, 5 minutes conversation.
Free 5 minutes.
Texting, I'm not a texter. I just don't. Not at all. So we're all here together to help out each other. Absolutely. Especially in our community. So if you're interested, go to them first. Come to me second.
Why go to us first?
Hey, y'all the experts.
Well, thank you guys for joining us on this episode of Government Coins. Again, please reach out to myself and Shakia first, obviously, then Marcellus, and also be sure to watch out for some of the free basic stuff that he'll be putting out this month of September. We appreciate y'all, and click like and share, and see y'all. Bye.